Hello, how are you? I'm so glad you're here. In this video, we're going to talk about the second of the 6F's as described by Howard Schubiner. So in the last video, we talked about the first one, which was fear. So the second F that Howard talks about is focus. Now, it's very hard not to be focused on your symptoms when they're there a lot of the time, if all of the time. It's very hard not to pay a lot of attention to them, not to fear them, as we talked about last week, and not to have them as your kind of primary focus thought. And often what happens is whatever you might be going to do, so if you're going to an event, or you're going on a holiday, or you've got something to do at work, or something's happening with your family life, the first thing you think about is, how am I going to cope with that? Maybe what if my back pain gets worse, and how am I going to, what I'm going to do if my fatigue, I'm not going to be fatigued after that. And then what happens is, because we're focusing on it, is we then notice every little change. So someone who maybe, say, has back pain or bladder symptoms or whatever, they're then focusing on that area so much that any normal change is analysed and interpreted as something being wrong. So it's as if we're sitting there with a magnifying glass, waiting and watching and focusing on that area, looking for anything at all that can be interpreted as something happening, and therefore something that we need to be worried about. So the important thing to remember is that it's quite normal to have that kind of focus when you are living with ongoing symptoms. It's nothing that you're doing wrong. It's nothing that is wrong with you. It's natural that your brain's going to gravitate to that area. So it has to be a conscious thing to try and change that. And again, remember, the important thing is not to be beating yourself up if you do find your attention drawn to it, because you will, because that's natural. It's not like you can just say, oh, well, Carolyn has said I shouldn't focus on my bladder pain, so therefore I will now not do it. That's not going to happen. Your attention is going to be drawn to it, and that's okay. But when you find your focus going there, when you find your attention going towards whatever your symptom or symptoms may be, then it's just to calmly remind yourself, that's okay. My mind's just going there, my focus is just attending there, because that's what it's used to doing. But remind yourself that sensations you're experiencing are absolutely normal and natural, and there's nothing wrong there. If we've established that there's no structural cause, then it's likely that your pain or your symptoms, whatever symptoms you're experiencing, are due to a neural circuit disorder. So there's nothing for you to fear. You don't need to keep your focus on it. But if you find your focus going there, then just calmly remind yourself that it's okay, and whatever you're experiencing is fine, and there's nothing to be concerned about, and carry on with your day. Because what we're not trying to do is ignore it. So if you find your attention going towards the symptom, it's not about trying to push it, don't think about it, I'm not going to think about it, I'm not going to think about it, I'm not going to think about it, with that kind of intensity. Because remember, the sort of basis behind all of the work that we're doing here is not to do anything with that kind of intensity or sort of harshness. So if your attention goes to it, that's okay. But you then shift the focus, if you like, to remind yourself that what you're experiencing is just a normal sensation that's been misinterpreted. It's because your brain is so hyper focused on it that you're noticing these things that are more than likely just a normal change in muscle length or tension within the muscle or movement at a joint. This normal movement that your brain is misinterpreting. Because every time you move, every time I'm just sitting here not moving very much, but I'm talking, my head's moving about the place, my arm's moving a bit, my abdomen's moving because I'm breathing. So all these things, if I had a problem, say, in my back, that my brain was focusing in on, then I might be thinking, I can feel that getting tight now as I'm sitting here. Or if it was in my abdomen, I can feel that there's something happening there. But it's just the normal change in muscle sensation, in muscle length and muscle tension that happens with every action we do, however small. So it's important to remember that. So focus, F is for focus. Don't be over-focused on your symptoms. Your brain will gravitate towards them, and that's okay. Just notice it, remind yourself that you're safe, and carry on. Don't beat yourself up. Don't try hard not to pay attention and ignore it. It's not about that either. But just don't be sitting analysing it all the time. I remember when I had a lot of pain with fibromyalgia, I needed a lot of pain in my elbows, and I used to sit and press on it to see if which bit was still sore. if you keep pressing something, it's kind of going to be sore eventually if you keep pushing on a bit around your bit, around about your elbow. There's a lot of quite superficial nerves and things. So don't, it's the same as you're focusing on it. It's a bit like pushing on a bruise all the time. If you keep pushing on the bruise, it's going to be sore. So it's the same. If you keep focusing on it, you're going to find something there. You know, if you keep focusing, your brain will misinterpret these normal changes that it would under normal circumstances disregard. It's going to find something there to be worried about. So F is for focus. Try and not focus on it, but don't beat yourself up when you find your attention going there. You find your attention going and shift your focus away after reassuring yourself that the sensations you're experiencing are absolutely fine and absolutely normal. Okay, so that's focus. So the second of our F's, and the next video we'll go on and talk about the third one. Okay, bye for now.